Hi there. In this video we'll be covering how to write a book about my life. It's such an awesome experience to write your book. It's a way to own your story and share your message with the world. Following the steps in this video can empower you to write a book that can change not only your life, but the life of your readers as well. By the end of this video, you will learn the importance of planning, why verbally telling your story could be the best way to write your book, and why vulnerability counts, even and especially when it's embarrassing. And stay tuned until the end of the video for an opportunity I really think you're going to enjoy. Let's dive in. Before anything else, before you write a single word, before you even think about moving forward with your book, what is your purpose for writing your book? What is your reason for wanting to write a book? You could have very noble reasons, you could have fame-focused reasons. There's no wrong answer here. I just want you to be honest with yourself. What do you want to accomplish from writing your book? By understanding that, by tapping into that purpose, by tapping into your why, it's going to make everything else stronger. Everything else is going to fall into place. You're going to want to keep going because you have this thing figured out. You understand why you're writing this book. If you don't understand why you're writing this book, you're going to face challenges and then you're going to want to stop. You're going to want to put it aside. You're just going to quit. It's so easy to walk away from writing a book because it's super challenging. But if you figure out what your purpose and your why is, figure out your reason to keep going, you're going to want to move past those things. You're going to say, okay, this is hard, but I'm going to find a way around it. I'm going to find a way around that obstacle. I'm going to find the path forward, whatever the case may be. So you need to figure out your purpose and your why before anything else. After that, you really need to figure out your message. What are you actually trying to say? What is the message that will resonate to the reader? This isn't simply about documenting this happened, then this happened, and this happened. There's something else. There's something else here. I remember watching a video, and you can probably find it online, of the South Park creators talking about their storytelling message. And they've gotten past this element of this happened, and this happened, and this happened by saying therefore, therefore or but. Something has to happen that creates this thing to happen, then this happens, then this happens. It's not about jumping from one story to another. Writing a book about your life is not about the stories, it's about the message. It's about the overlying message and how all of those stories connect to that deeper message. If you can do that, if you can connect all of your pieces to this central core story, you're going to have a really powerful book. When I think about writing a story about your life, I think about a friend of mine named Emma. And I've worked with Emma on her book, over a course of months, nearly a year. And, she has a really interesting, harrowing, uplifting story. And for 6 months or so, it was just a series of stories. It wasn't building into that bigger thing. It took all of these conversations and all of this effort from both of us to really figure out what her message is. And from that, everything else connects. You need to connect the dots and figure out what your overlying message is, and then figure out how all of the stories orient toward that. Once you unlock your message and you figure out what your overriding takeaways are of your story, what somebody's going to learn from it, who the right person is to read your book, because it's not going to be everybody. Once you unlock those things, it's time to get writing. And getting writing could come in many different ways. You could go to the coffee shop and write in a notepad. You could type away at your keyboard. And you could talk into an audio recorder and use that audio recording to create words, to create automatically transcribed text, which is such an easy and simple and efficient way to write a book. At least the early stages, at least to get the stories down. You can always refine later. You can always clean things up and go back in and fix it. But it's so great to be able to get your stories in your voice and use that as a baseline for your book. It's such a powerful way to tell a story and retain voice. And it's what I do with all of my clients as a ghostwriter. I help people write their books. And we talk through different areas of their story. And I will take those words, take that conversation, and turn it into text, turn it into chapter text, because it's based on their specific words. It's awesome to be able to see it unlock. And you can do it too. Even if you're somebody who doesn't like typing and writing, you can talk through your entire book over the course of an afternoon, maybe walk for a couple hours. You can figure it all out. It's all there. All you have to do is talk it out and tell your story. Again, something I talked about earlier is really about making sure that everything fits. I've worked with so many people who had these stories to share, and they wanted to just fill it with stuff. Oh, this happened when I was a teenager. This happened when I was a young adult. How does it connect to your bigger story? If it doesn't connect to your bigger story, don't keep it. Get rid of those stories. You know, you can post them online, you can share them as add-ons to the book, but if they don't fit within the book itself and the message that you're sharing in the book, don't include them. You want your book to be so streamlined, so efficient, so clean. I'm not talking about just making it short. I'm talking about making it very clear to the reader that you have not wasted a single word, a single sentence, or a single chapter. You don't want the reader to go through and say, why is this chapter in here? And if you fill your book to the brim with all these stories that you think are interesting without really figuring out how they all connect to your deeper purpose and your goals and your meaning and the point beyond the book, you're going to lose the reader. They're going to say, what am I doing here? Have you watched a movie lately and you're watching a scene happen? You're saying, why is this scene here? This should have been scrapped. And then the movie's like 2.5 or 3 hours long. You're like, man, they could have cut this and this and this. It would have been a better movie. Would have been a more focused movie. That's what the reader's going to do with your book. They're going to say, I didn't need this. This is backstory I don't need. This is information that doesn't help me get to the point. So you really need to go through and figure out how everything fits in your book, how everything connects to your message. If you don't do that, you're going to have a bloated book. You have a book that people aren't going to want to finish. You're going to have a book that frustrates people. You want your book to keep the reader engaged, to keep the reader focused on the matter at hand. And the more that you can pull them away from that and get them frustrated, the more likely they are to put your book down. And then they never actually get the message that you want to share with them because they don't see the value in finishing. Give them a reason to want to keep reading. Another thing to keep in mind too, be vulnerable. I know it's scary to be vulnerable. I know it's scary to put your messages out there in a way that shares your failures, your failings, your disappointments, the frustrations you faced along the way. That's what people want to read. When they think about your life story, they're interested in learning from it. You know, what does your life story say that they can apply to their life? How does your message help them? This isn't just talking about your relative buying the book because you wrote it. You want to have something that they can read and learn from, and the way to do that is to be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. Be open. Let them know how you felt at different points in your life, especially the down points. No one wants to read all about the successes. They want to read about the successes and the struggles because then they can see you rising above the struggles, facing the struggles, overcoming the struggles, or at least learning to live with them. You know, you offer so much more benefit to the reader by being open and honest and real and authentic about your struggles than you do by just, you know, telling them how great your life is. No one wants to read that book. They're not going to learn anything from it. They don't want to read how great your life is. They want to read how you struggled and worked and kept at it, and over time, your life became great, you know, because of these things that you did, because of now the things that they can work on. You know, it's about connecting your story to the reader, and you can do that by being vulnerable and being real and being authentic and being open. The reader is interested in learning not just your successes, but your struggles. No one wants to read the book about how you won every single time and how great you are. They want to read the book about the struggles you face, the challenges, the doubts, you know, the insecurities, the fears, the problems, because they can learn from that. They can apply what you did to get beyond that, to move past those struggles into a state of success, how you achieved, how you overcame, how you endured. They want to learn all those things. They don't care necessarily about you winning. They care about what you did to be able to win, what you did to be able to succeed. By being vulnerable, it allows the reader to connect with you on a deeper level and see themselves in you and see their struggle in you, which is so important and so meaningful when you think about the connection that a reader can build with the book they're reading. If you want to learn more about how to write a book about my life, there's so much more guidance and insight I'd love to share with you. So head to my website. It's goodghostwriter.com. You can click the link below, and there you can schedule a one-on-one strategy call with me. I would love to talk to you about your story, about your message, you know, and how you can bring it forward in the most powerful way. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.